Welcome back, everybody. And this is another episode of my new series of episodes that is called Spice Market.
Oh, hello.
Where we talk about all of the spiciest, hottest, nastiest little cards that you can run in a variety of decks. If you want, you can check out the other Spice Market that I did for Pikarom. There's some definite spice there at the end. Maybe some salt for some of you. You're probably like, I'm salty about that recommendation. Anyways, so today we are going to be talking about what are those little spicy nuggets that you can add to Reshizard. And I'm going to be talking specifically about, I think, the greens build of Reshizard, although all of these cards will work in either version of Reshi. But greens is really the one that you're probably going to want to be running post-rotation. Let's just be blunt about that. So, there's going to be 3 cards that I'm going to talk about today for this Reshizard build. The first card, which I think I've heard people talk about, I have actually run this card in my greens Reshi, and it has won me several games, and that is Tapu Fini. Mr. Tapu Fini is a tech card that you put in there specifically for Blacephalon GX, and it works also against Baby Blounds, right? It's not really that valuable in most other matchups. Reason being is it only does 100 damage for what you're using it for. So something like an Ultra Necrozma, it's not going to get you there. It's just not going to knock it out. It's going to put it on the doorstep, but it doesn't matter. But I think there's going to be enough Blacephalon GX running around out there that it makes this matchup between Reshi and Blacephalon much closer than it was before. Now, look, Blacephalon GX is a really good deck. Reshizard is a really good deck. I would give Blacephalon GX a slight edge over Reshizard just because it can really do that one-hit KO potential on a Reshi, and that prize trade just doesn't work for you. So, Tapu Fini, for 1 colorless energy, if your opponent has any Ultra Beasts on the field, for 1 colorless energy, it can do 100 damage. And obviously it's a water type Pokemon, so against a Blacephalon, it's doing 200 damage. That's all you need to knock that Blacephalon GX out. It's perfect. Benefit of something like this is if they have an Ultra Beast on the field, but a Pokemon that has less, like maybe the Blacephalon GX isn't out there, and there's maybe a Salazzle that uses the roast thing, right? Like a couple other cards, you could actually get a couple of 1-prizers out too if you need to. But yeah, that's the first little piece of spice. I think people are debating whether or not they want to run this in their Reshizard decks. Can you find the space for it? And then the other problem, honestly, with this one is not just finding the space, but finding the Tapu Fini when you need it. So situationally, it can be hard. I think because you're running a greens build, if you're in a pinch, what you can do, if you have a greens and you're willing not to get a greens back, you can greens for a Cherish Ball and a Pokecom, grab both of those, assuming you don't have any Pokemon in your hand either. Cherish Ball into a Reshi, into a Pokecom, into a Tapu, put the Tapu down. Hopefully you've got a switch to. Like it can be hard. It can be hard to pull this off, but I think it's worth it against that matchup specifically. So, let's talk about some spice that you may not have seen out there. Maybe a couple of decks are running it. I haven't seen it. I haven't played it actually. But the more I think about it, the more I think this is valuable. The problem with Greens Reshi, in my opinion, is getting non-3-prize attackers taking prizes, basically doing something for you, and doing something for you in a way that isn't like, okay, well, great, I took 1 prize with my Volcanion, right? Or I pinged something and then my Volcanion died, and it kind of didn't really matter because Reshi doesn't need pings to take something out probably. This is something that you can tech in there in the right moment and get 3 prizes off of it, and that is Heatran GX from the new Unified Mindset. Now, this card, and the reason I like this is a couple of reasons. And you might be thinking, okay, whoa, you're running a greens build, but Heatran has an ability. Fine, doesn't matter. The key thing that you have to make sure when you do run this is that you have a way to get your power plant out of there, right? That there's not a power plant on the field when you need this. That's the only challenge with this one. But what it basically does is when this card moves from the bench or your hand or whatever, moves into the active spot, you can attach, I believe you can attach as many fire energy as you want from the field to it. And then its GX attack does 50 damage for each fire energy that is on this card. So, assuming you haven't used your GX with Reshi, which you don't usually need to, you can get 300 damage off with this guy with just 6 energy. So let's assume you have a Reshi on the field. It's still got 4 energy on it, but maybe it's been pinged once. You're worried that it's going to get taken out. If you can get a switch in hand, which you can get from, a greens. So let's say you've got a switch in hand. You can move this into the active without having to retreat any of that energy away. And if you've then got a welder and a fire energy or 2, right? Like, boom, that's 6 energy that is all onto that Heatran. You can take out a 3 prizer with a 2 prizer. That's the key, right? You are gonna force them into an 8 prize game if you do this correctly. And I think for Reshi Greens, that is forcing them into an 8 prize game that isn't 8 prizes for the purpose of stalling. I think that honestly is why I'm a little bit down on Volcanion. I think the double or triple Reshi with quadruple Volks is just not gonna cut it anymore. Doing 110 only takes out like a few Pokemon that are gonna be in the active, and everything else has 120 or more. So even in a mirror match, you're facing a Volcanion, you ping it for 110, doesn't matter, it has 120. So that's why I think things like Heatran are gonna be potentially more valuable for one of those Pokemon slots than a Volcanion. So now let's get to the third and final little bit of spice for Reshizards. This one I think is probably the most difficult to pull off, but if you can get it up and running, I think you got something here. And that is Arcanine. Now, Arcanine saw play in prior iterations of Reshizard, and then it kind of fell out of favor because it is an evolving Pokemon. It's a stage 1. It's difficult to get out there. That doesn't change. It's still difficult to get. It's more difficult, I would say, now to get it out there. But if you can get it out, if you can figure out some way of getting an Arcanine into play, its first attack does, I think, 120, which is exactly what you need to knock out your opponent's Volcanion. So that's the math that really helps you. That 120 is going to make a huge amount of difference, I think. Not only that, you have another attack on that Arcanine that can do 190. Now, 190 is a beautiful number. 190 takes out a Zeraora GX. 190, I believe, I could be wrong, I think takes out a Blacephalon GX. Does that have 180 or 190, or maybe it's 200? I don't know. I think it takes out a Blacephalon GX as well. So you have a few different Pokemon that your opponent might put in the active to sort of stall you out a little bit or buy a little bit of time. There's a bunch of Pokemon out there that 190 is going to get you there. So I think that is why Arcanine is something that I'm thinking about putting back into this Reshi build, just so I have less than 3 prize attackers. That's really what this one is all about, honestly. Less than 3 prize attackers that can get you over the finish line, basically. So you're not, relying on healing Reshis and choice helmets. Like, look, that works, that happens. But yeah. So those are my 3 spicy cards for Greens Reshi or Reshizard in general. Let me know what you are adding for spice. I have a secret card that I don't want to reveal because it wasn't my thought, and I don't want to blow this man's deck up. But there's another card out there that I think is some good spice, and let me know if you know what that card is in the comments. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you like this stuff. I think Spice Market is going to be a really interesting series. It's fun for me to do. If you have any decks you want to see Spice for, definitely let me know. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you later. Carpe awesome.